The film begins with a girl named Suan, a kind-hearted young woman who works at a pet shop called Kitty and Puppy. The shop's job is to take cats from wealthy owners, take care of them for a period of time, and then return them to their owners. At the moment, Suan is doing her usual work, washing a Persian cat named Bideni and grooming her as well. After a while, the cat's owner, Mrs. Lee, comes to the shop to pay the service bill. While she is paying, Suan holds the cat in her arms and plays with her. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears standing on the other side of the shop's glass window, but when Suan looks in that direction, the figure disappears. She does not notice the small fingerprints left on the smooth glass surface. Mrs. Lee then returns to her car, and Suan notices a small girl stroking Bidani's fur, but the girl also disappears when a car passes by. When Mrs. Lee reaches her apartment building, she enters the elevator, but the elevator door refuses to close. At the same time, Bidani becomes restless and aggressive, trying to escape from her arms, which greatly irritates Mrs. Lee. Just before she can do anything, the door suddenly closes. When the elevator door opens again on the first floor, Mr. Lee, her husband, is confronted with a horrifying scene. He finds his wife dead on the elevator floor, while Bidani is completely unharmed, sitting in the corner and licking her lips as if she had just enjoyed a meal. The scene then shifts to Suan visiting her psychiatrist. Through their conversation, we learn that she suffers from claustrophobia due to a traumatic childhood experience, when a fire broke out in her home. When the doctor asks her about her life, Suan talks about how she tried to ride the subway on her own, but her fear of elevators still remains. On her way to work, Suan hears about Mrs. Lee's death, and the police are investigating the scene. When she sees Bidani, she approaches a police officer named Zhang Anike, who happens to be the ex-boyfriend of her best friend. She asks him to give her the cat, and he agrees because he knows she has experience with animals. Later, Suan arrives at work, but her manager does not approve of keeping Bidani at the shop. He says it will drive customers away because the cat came from a dead owner. Despite this, Suan places the cat in a cage and continues working. After a while, she looks out the window and is suddenly shocked when she sees a little girl with cat-like eyes standing outside. She feels scared, but when she tries to confirm what she saw, no one is there. After work, Suan heads home carrying Bidani in her arms. She feels a frightening sensation, as if someone is following her and watching her, but she sees no one. She looks around nervously. Suan lives alone in her apartment, and because of her claustrophobia, there are no doors inside her home. While playing with the cat, she receives a phone call from her best friend Bohi, who tells her that she wants to adopt a cat. During the conversation, Suan mentions that she ran into the police officer earlier that morning, but Bohi shows no interest since they broke up a long time ago. Bohi also says she does not mind if they go out together that day. After the call ends, Suan continues playing with the cat. Suddenly, Bidani leaves her and crawls under the bed. Suan looks under the bed out of curiosity to pull the cat out, but she feels as if someone is watching her. When she bends down to look again, a ghostly face suddenly lunges at her in a terrifying attack. Suan screams loudly, jumps back, and begins breathing heavily in panic. The next day, Suan visits her psychiatrist again and tells her everything that happened. The doctor explains that the girl she saw might be a reflection of her younger self, because she is still mentally trapped in the traumatic experience of the house fire. Later that same day, Suan and Bohi take a bus to a cat shelter. It turns out that Bohi is looking for a long-haired cat so she can practice her grooming skills. Suan is upset by this and scolds her friend, calling her selfish for using cats like tools. When they arrive, they find the shelter filled with dirty, neglected street cats locked inside cages. There they meet one of the workers, a man named Mr. Long, who lets them inside. During all of this, Suan notices a cat that appears to be in extremely poor condition. At the same time, Bohi finds another cat that she really likes and decides to adopt it. Mr. Long then excuses himself and enters a separate room, where he lifts several dead cats and places them into an incinerator. When he returns, Suan tries to draw his attention to the cat that has collapsed inside its cage and died, but Mr. Long ignores her and leaves with Bohee and the cat she chose. As soon as they walk out, the door suddenly locks itself, trapping Suan inside. Her fear of enclosed spaces takes over completely. She starts pounding on the door, screaming for help, her vision becoming extremely blurry. She begins choking and coughing up clumps of cat hair. Before things get any worse, her friend finds her lying on the floor and helps her up, joking as she says, "I know you're a vegetarian, but it looks like we really need to change your diet." At the same time, Officer Jinak and his colleagues at the police station review surveillance footage of Mrs. Lee inside the elevator. The recording shows Bidani trying to escape from her arms, after which Mrs. Lee looks in a certain direction with intense fear. Moments later, she falls backward and appears to struggle with an unseen force until she dies. Based on this evidence, the officers conclude that she died from a severe panic attack. The following night at work, Suan discovers a storage room filled with dead cats. Frozen in fear, a hand suddenly emerges from among the corpses and grabs her leg. She fights wildly to break free and eventually manages to escape and run out of the room. When she gets outside, she sees the mysterious girl with cat-like eyes inside the room. A few minutes later, Jinak arrives and thoroughly inspects the place but finds nothing out of the ordinary. He is a kind man and drives Suan home. After the disturbing events of that day, Suan has trouble sleeping. When she finally falls asleep, she has a horrifying nightmare in which she sees Bidani torn apart, with her father eating from the remains. She wakes up terrified and drenched in sweat, but then smiles when she sees Bidani's tail moving under the blanket. She lifts the blanket, only to be shocked to find the little girl underneath it. The next day, Suan goes to pay her father's bills at the psychiatric hospital but leaves without seeing him. She then visits Bohee's house and finds her excitedly grooming her new cat. The cat, however, is completely uncooperative, scratches Bohee, and runs into the closet. When Bohee tries to pull out the cat that hates being cleaned, the girl with cat-like eyes appears again, standing by the closet. Suan cannot see the girl, but she sees the closet door close on its own. She decides to check on her friend in the room where the lights are not working. As she reaches the closet, she notices a pair of legs hanging among the clothes. She moves closer and pulls the clothes aside, only to see the little girl standing there, terrifying her. With a sudden movement, the girl causes the clothes to fall, revealing Bohee's dead body. Despite her terror, Suan reacts quickly and drags her friend to the hospital, but unfortunately, the doctors are unable to save her. Bohee's body is transferred to the morgue using the elevator. At first, Suan hesitates to enter the elevator, but she forces herself to step inside. At that moment, she sees blood spreading across the sheet covering Bohee's body and starts screaming that her friend is still alive. The doctors ignore her, assuming she is mentally unstable. Suan lifts the sheet and sees that her friend is indeed dead, but when she covers her again, Bohee suddenly opens her eyes and grabs Suyan's arm. Terrified, Suan screams, and the doctors rush over to calm her down. Shortly afterward, Jinak arrives at the hospital, devastated by the tragic news and deeply affected by Bohee's death, as she was his former lover. He lashes out at Suan and blames her for everything. The next day, Suan accidentally cuts her finger while cooking and begins to bleed. Bidani suddenly appears and starts licking the wound. When Suan sees evil in the cat's eyes, she pushes it away, but the cat continues staring at her. Not wanting to be around Bidani anymore, Suan locks the cat in a cage and decides to return it to its owner, Mr. Lee. When she arrives, he refuses to take the cat back and even offers her money to continue caring for it. Desperate to get rid of Bidani as quickly as possible, Suan decides to abandon the cat in a remote location. While walking away, she comes across an elderly woman who appears lost. Suan helps her and takes her to the police station, where she learns that the woman suffers from Alzheimer's disease. A short while later, the woman's son arrives and takes her home. Before Suan leaves, Jinak approaches her and apologizes for his earlier anger. He then promises to investigate the mystery behind the deaths more deeply. He calls the animal shelter to ask about Bidani, but the call suddenly cuts off. At the same time at the shelter, Mr. Long is injecting cats with lethal drugs and photographing them before placing them in the incinerator. During one attempt, the furnace door jams and refuses to close properly. As he examines the girl with cat-like eyes, she suddenly grabs him, drags him inside, locks the furnace door, and burns him alive, laughing the entire time. Elsewhere, Suan is at home. After hearing noises outside, she looks through the peephole and sees the toy she used to play with Bideni hanging there. As she focuses to get a better look, the ghostly girl suddenly appears in front of her, causing her to stumble backward in fear. At that same moment, she receives a call from Jinak, who asks her to go with him to the animal shelter. When they arrive, they find numerous photographs of murdered cats, including Bohi's cat. A strange sound leads them to the incinerator room, where they discover the disturbing sight of Mr. Long's burned body. After witnessing all these deaths, Suan notices a common pattern. Every victim was killed in an enclosed space, such as an elevator, a closet, or the incinerator. She concludes that the killer cannot strike in open areas. To find more answers, Suan visits an animal rescue organization, where she learns the origin of the evil. There had once been a large number of stray cats living in the basement of Danga apartment building. When residents began complaining, the basement's doors and windows were sealed with concrete, leaving the cats to suffocate inside. 2 weeks later, workers removed the dead cats' bodies and burned them. The scene then shifts to the pet shop, where Suyan's manager notices Bideni looking through the window. He allows the cat inside, locks it in a cage, and places it in the storage room, trying to silence its loud cries. Suddenly, the ghostly girl appears behind him and whispers into his ear. When he turns around, she attacks and brutally kills him. When Suyan arrives at the shop, she is horrified to find her manager's body. In the end, she vows to stop the massacre and makes an extremely brave decision to investigate Danga apartment building, despite her intense fear of enclosed spaces. On her way, she encounters the elderly woman with Alzheimer's again, who is searching for her missing granddaughter, Jean. Suyan contacts Jinak to obtain the woman's address and agrees to accompany her at her request. Meanwhile, Jinak reviews old files and discovers that the woman reported her granddaughter missing 9 months earlier, but her son later closed the case. Suyan follows the woman to her home, which turns out to be in Danga apartment building. There, she is shocked to see a photograph of Jean, the woman's granddaughter, and realizes that Jean is the same girl with cat-like eyes she has been seeing all along. Before Suyan can ask any more questions, the woman's son forces her to leave. At that moment, Suyan sees Bideni again and follows her into the building's basement. There, she is confronted by a large swarm of cats. While trying to defend herself, Suyan accidentally falls into an empty water tank, triggering overwhelming fear. The girl with cat-like eyes appears once more, this time revealing how she died. It turns out that Jean had been playing with the cats in the same basement. When she learned about the plan to kill them, she tried to hide them inside the water tank. While attempting to save them, she fell into the tank herself and died alongside the cats. We then learn that Jean is actually Halle Berry, the tormented spirit of the wronged cats, seeking revenge on those who harmed them. Because Suyan is kind-hearted, the spirit spares her and refuses to hurt her. In the final scene, Suyan visits her father at the psychiatric hospital and spends time with him. As she leaves, she rides the elevator for the first time, gathering the courage to confront her fear. But the question remains: will people continue to be killed by the cats, or not? This is the end of the film. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.